What up, watch peeps? Dryden is a relatively new micro brand whose offerings are limited to diver chronographs so far, but they do have a straight up diver watch that's coming out soon, so you can go to their website and check that out. Now, I'm admittedly not much of a chronograph guy. It's just not a functionality that I use. I'm a bit of a minimalist when it comes to watches. Give me 3 hands, no date, and I'm good to go. But if I had to choose a chronograph, the diver chronographs like the Seiko Solars do appeal to me, so I jumped at the chance to check this out. Now, this is my first time handling one of their watches, but a quick trip to their website will show that they do stand behind their watches, which is really nice to see. Now, this is a review piece. It was lent into the channel, so I will be sending it off to another reviewer after this. If you are enjoying the channel, subscribing is a huge help and always much appreciated. Let's get to it. I'm Pete, and we are chilling with watches. Alright guys, first things first, wrist check. I am wearing the Tudor Ranger. This is one of those watches that if I go a little while without wearing it, I forget just how great it is. On this strap, it's just like coming home after a road trip. Really love this watch, and I should wear it more often. Today what we're looking at is the Dryden Diver Chrono. And you'll notice I left the container slightly open because it's hard to get this lid off, and I didn't feel like fumbling that on camera. So it's got this wooden lid, and you get a tube, and inside your tube is a watch roll. Real nice watch roll, very reminiscent of what you would get with a Zelos, if you are familiar with that. I love getting these. Arguably one of the more useful watch packaging available. And inside you will get a plethora of straps. So you get one of these FKM rubbers that I'm so fond of. Really nice. And you get a NATO. These are all 22 millimeter. That is the lug width on these. Seems like a really nice NATO. It's thick, but seems like a nice seatbelt weave NATO. Love the color. And you get a leather strap, all quick release. Pretty basic leather strap, nothing super special. I don't usually use the straps that come on these review pieces because I don't know what gross reviewer wrist sweat they got on them, so I always put one of my own straps on them. No offense, guys, I'm sure you're all great. This is just a Barton Elite Silicon Black that I stuck on there. And this is the Dryden Diver Chrono. A very handsome watch, I thought, right away. Love the shade of green. This is the Gen 2. There was a Series 1 and a Series 2. Very slight differences. The biggest noticeable difference is a loomed bezel on this model. And I wore this for a few days. I really enjoyed my time with it. It's a good looking watch. And it feels solid. It feels really well built. These are available on their website for $349, which after poking around looking, I think is perfectly reasonably and fair for what you get compared to a Dan Henry. You get in sapphire here, loomed ceramic bezel, but only those minor upgrades, but those make up probably the difference in price between this and a Dan Henry, I think, which is what I would compare this to. But this is 100 meters water resistance, and you get this sign. This is a screw down crown. Well, let's take a look at the dial layout first. It's the Seiko VK63, I believe this is, which is a mecha quartz movement. Here, we'll get that going. So you got the mechanical kind of flyback and multiple ticks per second in the chronograph hand. But there's something a little odd here that we'll take a look at. Now you'll see this register on the left is the minutes for the chronograph. You'll see the other register here on the right labeled hour. Now, if this one's minute for the chronograph, what might you be led to believe that hour is? Hours on the chronograph? Well, you'd be wrong. That is a 24-hour, it's not even independent or settable, just a 24-hour hand, basically an AM/PM indicator. But I think labeling it hour is misleading. Or at a minimum, it's confusing. And if we take a close look, you'll see they also labeled this one seconds. But that's the running seconds hand. It's not the chronograph seconds. So I don't know that labeling these subdials second, minute, and hour when they're unrelated to one another was such a good idea. That kind of bugged me, but, you know, is what it is. When you know what they are and it's your watch, that's not really much of an issue. I love the handset they chose for this. Basically, Omega Seamaster style handset, but it is that, evokes that Omega feeling. I really like this handset. One of the other things I really like about this watch is the case profile. This is what I call a banana case. You can see why, right? It also, very much like the Sumo, has that banana shape. And for me, this just wears really well on wrist. It does not have drilled lugs, but often these don't because the lugs get very thin down where the lug holes would be. And I don't know that drilling them out is practical or even feasible. I was hoping I could do this easily. Now it is brushed on the case sides with polished chamfers, brushed on the lug tops. Case back, it's a solid case back with standard spec sheet type items on the back, and pretty cool sailboat motif. Is this laser engraved? Is that what you call this? But pretty cool case back. I think I mentioned before that it is 100 meters water resistance, sapphire crystal. And one of the other things that was my favorite on this is the bezel. The bezel action, oh, it is so precise and notchy. It's really good. The alignment is perfect everywhere. I'll set it to GMT. I would have went for the, well, I don't know. When you get like a dive time bezel on a chronograph, it kind of becomes redundant, I think. But I never have the need to track a second time zone. So which would I choose? I don't know. But the bezel action on this thing is great. And it is one of those kind of matte finished ceramic inserts. So it's a really great bezel all around. The grip on it's fantastic. Definitely one of the highlights for me was the bezel action. It's just something that I find enjoyable. And I mentioned it has a signed screw down crown. It's a really nice size crown, and we'll do the measurements here in a second. But good crown pop. There is a phantom date position in there. I don't think it does anything. I don't feel any date wheels clicking or anything, but it is there. And then the time setting. Screws down really well, really solidly. Very nice. I'm assuming that also lends to the 100 meters of water resistance. And I don't mind that on a quartz watch that you're not going to be playing with the crown very often. So let's get some measurements on there. What size is that crown? So yeah, we're looking at a 7.1 millimeter crown. The case, I think they listed as 42. Yeah, it's a 42 millimeter case that is 12.8 millimeters thick, which is really great for a chronograph. 12.9. Really nice for a chronograph. Quartz chronographs are just, to me, slightly more wearable than their mechanical brethren. Lug to lug on this is 49. It's not small, not short, but wearable. And the lug width, I said, is 22. Let's take a look at it on wrist. So here it is on my 7 1/4 inch wrist, and for a chronograph, I found this to be very wearable, very comfortable, slightly slab-sided, but I mean, what chronograph isn't? And size for my 7 1/4 inch wrist, it came in at 89 grams. Let's take a quick look at it side by side some other watches. So here it is beside a 41 millimeter Ranger that I just took off. Get some idea of the size difference. What else I got here? Here's the 40 millimeter Yima. I don't have any other chronographs to put this side by side, guys, so I apologize for that. Like I said, I'm just not a chrono guy. But I did like this one. And here it is beside the SKX, also 42 millimeters, or maybe slightly more. So again, it's a style of watch with a larger dial that is going to give it a larger appearance, but if you're looking at the cases, if you can focus your eye on that, you'll see they're pretty similar. let's talk about my likes and dislikes real quick while I bring up these specs. So one of the first things I really liked about this watch was the bezel action. I love the bezel action. Super precise and notchy. No wobble in it whatsoever. The whole bezel assembly is fantastic. From the insert to the bezel, its grip, really well done there. One of the other things I really liked about this watch is shape. I love that banana case shape, the turn down lugs, very little belly on the case back, just made it hug the wrist, wear really well. Dislikes, the only thing I really dislike is what I mentioned before about the labeling of the subdials. I don't think it makes sense. And what's funny is that's one of the differences from the Gen 1 to the Gen 2. I wouldn't have labeled them since they're not actually related in function. All right, real quick, let's
Peep the Lume.
So the Lume is one of the other things I really liked about this watch. It is BGW9, a very nice, healthy application of it. You can see the bezel. Just how precise that bezel is. And I started the chronograph too, so you can see the chronograph hand moving there. Yeah, the Lume on this thing is fantastic. All right, let's flip the camera back around and wrap this thing up. So there it is, the Dryden Diver Chrono. I think they call it Series 1 Gen 2. A really cool chronograph. Like I said, I'm not much of a chronograph guy, but if I was and I was in the market for a new chronograph, I could definitely see myself picking one of these up. The price is great. 100 meters water resistance, sapphire crystal. It's just a solid feeling, really good looking chronograph. All right, guys, before I let you go, sneaker check. Wearing my Jordan 1 lows again. Once I start putting these on, I just kind of wear them for days. All right, that's it. I'm out. If it's not too much trouble, like, subscribe, and come back next time. Peace.